Well, as you can see, I am with the usual cast of Friendly Geordies podcast, and there will be no further questions on that. I'm joined with the usual regular guest, MysterE. How are you this week?
I am well, thank you for asking. How are you, FJ?
Yeah, no, I'm actually really good because I do like it when you come on. I like listening to your little autistic rabbit holes that you go down.
Thank you.
Have you been going down any recently?
I tend to go down lots of rabbit holes, so it depends what you want. International rabbit holes? Do you want localized rabbit holes?
Do you have localized rabbit holes? I thought you only went down international.
No, I've actually been branching off into regionally specific rabbit holes recently.
Nice.
So I've been crossing the Tasman, been checking out NZ, and I've been looking into...
That's not local. That is international.
Look, it's our part of the world, okay?
I guess it's,
They're
yes, look, it's closer than the Northern Hemisphere, I'll give you that.
From my understanding of New Zealand, they're basically another state of Australia by the look
Oh,
of it.
always. It's the official stance of this podcast that it should be.
Well, there you go. There you go. And yes, I've been looking into Australian politics a bit because like it's relevant, and it's especially relevant at the moment with what's been going on with America, like dipping its nose into our affairs, especially with the tariffs. And then like with New Zealand, for example, the FBI just opened up an office in Wellington.
Oh, yeah?
FBI? Like, what's going on there? I went down that rabbit
Just
hole.
like a franchise.
It's a legat, if you know what that is.
No.
So a legat is an official FBI office that's attached to the American embassy in whatever country they feel like opening a legat in. And so like you could just have a bunch of FBI agents working out of an embassy, or you can have an official one that is literally their jurisdiction on your home soil. So FBI agents can pull you into their offices and interrogate you.
Hell yeah.
Yes. How mental is that? And we've had one in Australia since like the 80s or something like that. Like a legat. Like a legit, there is officers in Australia, FBI agents, and they have an office, and I'm assuming they do that so they can use American law on Australian soil, let's just say.
Oh, so they can use American law on Australian soil. Yeah, okay, because that's interesting because you always hear it's the other way around. Because America has the Bill of Rights, usually they want places like Australia that was basically a penal colony so they can catch people here. Get around the loophole.
Yes.
Get around the loophole.
Yes.
I suppose it makes sense to make it go vice versa. That's you know, it's clever. It's definitely clever.
It's interesting.
It's really strange that it took so long for him to set up one in New Zealand. I suppose the whole point is like, why bother?
Well, like from what I can understand is now that things are getting hotter with China,
yeah,
World War III, it's actually important to have the Pacific covered. So if there's like Chinese operatives in the Pacific somewhere, drag them straight to NZ. North Island, baby. And like you don't even have to go across the Pacific Ocean. You've got American soil, right? Their official office. And once you drag them in there, it's not like the NZ police can go in and take them out again.
No.
Eh?
No, they've got those Simpson toilets.
Yeah. I imagine that's what it's like in a legat.
That's what I think too. I really do think that they go to that level. It's so yank, isn't it?
Yeah. And
so you've been looking into these legats.
Yeah.
Well, is this the only localized? It's incredible that you're just like, yeah, New Zealand. Like, is there anything else?
Well, like Australian relations in terms of our policies as they relate to the Americans now, because that's going to be more and more important. I looked at like all the stuff that's going on with recognition of Palestine. That was the most recent rabbit hole that we went down. So like,
yeah, see, you don't give a fuck that you live in Australia, do you? It's nothing to you.
Well, look,
you live in America. It's mentally. You are one of those cunts in the legat. That's
yeah,
that's you. You're your own little embassy.
Yeah. When I'm
right here,
when I'm streaming from American soil. But like, look, you know my outlook on the world and world affairs, and it all comes down to who's the center of the capitalist world, and like everything, all roads lead to Rome. You know how it is. So like, why start with anywhere else but the center, the imperial core?
Yeah, I know. It's very you. It's so you're so into that. Well, then, American-wise, what have you been looking into?
Well, look, recently, just anything that's coming out recently with the Trump saga. So, like, pick
The Epstein file?
Yeah, yeah.
You've been looking into that?
Oh, massively, bro. Massively.
Well, look, I think we all know that that's better than some pissant little embassy in New Zealand. Come on.
I know. But, like, it's a massive invasion of our rights. It is.
As the self-described US citizen.
Whatever. No, but like Epstein, bro, like all the way.
Yeah, okay. Well, then why?
Like, okay, here's my thing.
Yeah.
And this is my take on the Epstein files, which is incredible, okay? It's absolutely breathtaking because I don't see much of an analysis like this. So tell me what you think and tell me if you've heard this before. But the Epstein files, or this whole saga, how it's been given new life, let's say, what it shows is that there is a definite class system. There is a rule for the absolute wealthy and powerful and mega rich out there. They can literally get away with murder, human trafficking, and touching kitties. They can literally get away with that, no problems. But like the working people of the world, the average people, the commoners, the peasants out there,
we don't get to touch any kids,
they
man.
get to do anything like that. Like if you got done, bang, you'd be gone. If I got done for something like that, that's it. It'd be maximum security. I would never see the light of day again. And I'd be left to all the people in the prison system to deal with me. That would be my comeuppance for something like that. But these people, look at Epstein. The first time he got convicted of it in the early 2000s, what did he get? 13 months. Not 13 years. 13 months. And
it wasn't like he was at an American prison. It was more like a Norwegian prison where you go out and work.
Dude, exactly. He got 12 hours a day work release. That's incredible. And what is work release for Epstein? Going around the streets, picking up more young people to prey on. That's his work. They're just like, oh, what do you do for a living? I pick people up on the streets and I extort them for stuff. Oh, okay. Well, is 12 hours a day enough for you? Yeah, thanks. That'd be great. That's what he got. And on top of that, what was it? What's the guy's name? Acosta, the Attorney General at the time, I believe. He helped him with some sweetheart deal and he got him off on all federal charges and anyone who could potentially be a conspirator of his. So everybody around him got immunity at the federal level as a result of that one conviction. He went into a plea deal and he got off for every other potential federal charge. It wasn't until he got picked up in New York and got charged under state laws. That's why he ended up in that prison.
Oh, okay. Yes, I didn't know that.
Yes, because he had federal level immunity. Like these people, he was like, all right, you got me. I'll just let my lawyers talk to your lawyers. Let my people talk to yours, Department of Justice and Attorney General, and you guys figure something out. 13 months, and after that, complete immunity at the federal level. The rich man, they have a whole nother world.
Yeah, but don't you think that that's mostly because of connections? It's not so much because of the wealth. I mean,
That's
obviously
what
wealth
that's what a class system is.
Yes.
You live in this section of society, and because of your networks and the crowd you roll with, there is two sets of rules. One for them and one for everyone else. And this is the most amazing thing about the whole Epstein saga as it has come up again. It's got the MAGA base smashed into little factions. They are fighting amongst themselves. There's no consensus on this one. They're upset with Trump. They're upset with Pam Bondi. They're upset with Kash Patel because they're like, but you said there were files. Where are the files? And they're like, we didn't say that. And it's just like, but in February, you actually said that you're looking through the files. And so they're calling bullshit on this one. And normally when Trump says, hey, stop it, look over there now. They just look over there. But he's been saying for weeks now, look over there. And they're just like, no. And he's even calling them out. He's like, you're all weaklings, you're idiots. the Republicans that are chasing this are stupid. Like, he's in press conferences being like, you guys are supposed to do what I tell you, and you're not. And so, like, the working people of America, in the form of the MAGA movement and like everybody else who's not associated with them, have just been like, this is where we draw the line. You can fucking tank the economy. You can destroy our living standards. You can take away like our rights and freedoms. But when you touch our kids and do human trafficking, sorry, that's where we draw the line. And we want
Because
justice.
it's always built on that. I don't know why, but there is a specific type of person which is always going to be the MAGA type of person. But they do see P words around every corner. That is their big boogeyman in their entire head. So it's like the only thing that is ever going to set them off. It's incredible that there's nothing else that Trump has ever done that has even caused a disturbance.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Like access scandal, who cares about it? Like, you know, like saying really, really kind of depraved things about like sections of your population, particular demographics, whatever you want to call them. Hey, that's fine, excusable. You can find a way to get around and justify that, but this is where they draw the line. And so it's showing, I think, a level of working class solidarity on this issue. Like, they're not giving up on this one.
But why is it working class? It's got nothing to do with economic interests. It's really just
as a group interest. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is a rule for the wealthy, the rich and the powerful, the connected, as you call them. They have one rule that governs their little world, and it's like, you got an army of lawyers, you can get away with anything: murder, human trafficking, kiddies. You can get away with that. You just got to make the right deal. Like, look what they're doing with Ghislaine Maxwell at the moment. She's in prison, 20-year sentence, and he sends the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, his personal attorney, his personal attorney, to go and meet with her to see what she knows. Come on, bro. They spent 2 days together, 9 hours at a time, negotiating on, I don't know. She, the next day, gets moved to like an even less secure prison with her sister and other celebrities who have screwed up with like tax evasion and stuff like that. And she's
there's her sister in there.
Apparently. And she's just chilling in this like less. She was already in like a dormitory style prison where she can just like kind of just relax and like sit on the balcony and drink tea and stuff like that. And like now she's in like a less secure prison, or like a more cushy one, let's say, in Florida somewhere. And like, hello, what were those two people doing? What was his personal attorney and also now the Deputy Attorney General? What were they speaking about, which ended up in her getting a more cushy spot? She's the one, if you ask me, that released that stuff to the Wall Street Journal.
Really?
She released it. Now, there's a guy called Michael Wolff from New York Magazine. Yeah. If you've ever come across him. Yeah. So he speaks about this, and his suspicion is that this was a shot across the bow at the Trump camp, not the administration, but the Trump camp, to say, hey, we've got more than just his letter from a Epstein 50th birthday bunch of letters from the rich and the powerful. This is just one thing that we've got. Let's negotiate. She wants out. And like Trump straight away was just like, I'm going to give a pardon. No, I can give a pardon. Like, am I going to do what? I don't know. My people haven't talked to her people yet. Like that sort of stuff. Like he was out there straight away.
Yeah,
being
just
like,
outright.
I could do it.
Like,
I could do it.
Maybe there's a deal. Like,
see? And this is their world. This is the world of the rich and powerful. Maybe there's a deal. And for us, it's just like, law-abiding citizen. Everybody's born equal under the eyes of the law. If you get done, you're out. Like kind of thing. No go past, no collect $200, get out of jail free card, any of that shit. But these guys, they get the $200, they're out of jail. They're gone. They're gone. It's the deal for them, and it's just the general rules for us. And that just shows you a class system. You put me on to Christopher Lash, and one of the most insightful comments, one of the most insightful lessons that I got from Christopher Lash was that the hallmark of a functioning democracy is whether or not everybody is treated the same in terms of their rights and under the eyes of the law. And the degradation of any democratic society starts with double standards.
Mm.
And if there are double standards like that are so screamingly obvious, it's a class system, baby.
So that's why you're interested in Epstein.
Oh yeah, it's delicious because it shows it so raw that like the bourgeoisie exists.
Quite remarkable how much media coverage it's been getting and how blatant it is, despite the fact that there is so much media coverage. What is phenomenal? I mean, I've said it so many times on the channel, but it's just such a badly managed cover-up. Like, it's a cover-up where you're seeing all the moves of the cover-up happen in real time. It's really strange. Yeah. I don't understand why that's the case.
Because it just shows you how many fucks they give. And it's a big
But do you think so? Because, like, honestly, I feel like if there was somebody that was more adept and competent at what was going on, I don't know. It's just like Trump... There's all just things that people have said, but he is such a glitch in the matrix because there's just so many things in his career. As people have said over and over again, what are we up to? Tens of thousands of things that Trump has said that any other politician, that would be the end of their... They're done. They're completely done. And he just glides over all of them.
Not this one.
Yeah, but like...
This one is sticking.
It's true. It's definitely true. It is... Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like it's unfolding. I wonder where it goes. But there's something remarkable that happens every few days on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because it's just so rich. And because it keeps coming out, like you said, like we are being exposed to more and more of this dark underbelly of this class that sits above us. And we're just like, fuck, this is how it works?
Yeah.
This is what they're doing?
Yeah.
They go into rooms and they have deals with one another. They figure this shit out. And then we're just supposed to swallow this. And people aren't swallowing it on this one. So like why I brought it up, there's been multiple occurrences in press conferences where he's called out his own base. He's calling out Republicans and calling them stupid. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. Like, he campaigned for a year straight in the lead up to the election and was just like, I'm telling you, they haven't released the files because it's going to bring down the democratic system kind of thing. It's going to bring down the Democrats. I'm going to expose it. I'm going to release the Epstein files. And he campaigned on that. And like now they won't let it go. And he's calling it a hoax. Like he never even talked about it once. And like people are just like, no. All the other stuff you say, fine. When you say jump Trump, we say how high. But like this one, Yeah. And it's pissing him off. He's calling them his own base. He's calling them weak. He's calling them idiots for following a Democrat hoax. And like, it's just like each day they leave it unaddressed, which they're doing an awful job at because he's just got a bunch of cronies. And this is part of the butterfly revolution, the dark enlightenment, like, you know, courtesy of and all that sort of stuff. Like in the streams that I've been doing on my channel, we have been going through Project 2025. You know?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Right. It's a 900-page document. It's an absolute killer. So, you know, kudos to all of you who have been on the stream with me reading
in
this
the trenches. Yeah.
In the fucking trenches, bro. We have been reading this document and like it is just wall to wall this. Trump, okay, they don't say Trump. They say whoever the next president of the United States will be, either he or she, must ensure that they stack the entire administration, every position possible in every department possible with loyalists. Loyalists, not just Republican bureaucrats, not just Republican appointees, loyalists. They need to be loyal to the supreme leader. And that is the one concurrent, like one motif that really runs through that document. It's like, this is how we take a hold of the nation and claw it back. And the rhetoric is just so much about the fact that democracy has been taken away from the hands of the people. and it has been given over to these bureaucrats in these departments and in Washington, and they get their positions because they're from, woke establishments, and they've all
Ivy
got
League colleges.
Ivy League colleges. They're from the cathedral, as Curtis Yarvin would say, and like they need to be weeded out. And you go in and you fire them all and stack the place with loyalists, and they've done it. They've done it. And this is what's happening right now. Trump surrounded himself with Pam Bondis of the world, Kash Patels of the world, and they are just not up to the task. Like you said, like
that's
the
what I was
covers
saying.
up
Yeah,
are just like they're uncomfortable.
it's really unprofessional.
It's unprofessional. We expect when we are whitewashed, over and told to forget about something, we expect the veneer of professionalism around that. And
no, there's exactly what you're saying. Like there is actually a skill to this, and you could see it with the standard politician Republicans in Congress when they were handling the cover-up correctly, which was, I mean, Democrats have smelled blood in the water, and they have just done some incredible wedges. It's really, really savage looking at their... it honestly just reminds me of stuff that you see in New South Wales Parliament that you never really see in America. I always found the Democrats to be quite... It's always their endless criticism, right? That they're too conciliatory to the Republicans and they're too even-tempered and they believe in the process and all this. Yeah. But this is very much just, we're not passing anything, release the files over and over again. There's a migration bill that comes up, release the Epstein files, that's our amendment, endlessly. Yeah. The Republicans, on the other hand, have... It shows that there is a skill to this, that this is actually a profession. It angers me to no end when people always say like, oh, well, why would you want politicians in power that are like career politicians? And it's like, because look, they get it. When you are doing something like this and you want the heat off of you, what you do instead is say, all right, here's our amendment to it. Our amendment is that we think that the Epstein files should be released. Not that they have to be released. We're saying that we think they should be released. That gives you some breathing room that you can go back to your constituency and say, we're pushing for something, Then on top of that, they withdraw out of Congress a few weeks early and think, oh, hopefully in like 3 months' time it dies down. These are moves that you're supposed to do in this situation. You're supposed to deny it of oxygen. You're supposed to do I'll take that on notice. You take it out for a long time. You drag it out. Yes. And then you have Trump's, loyalist circle that is sitting there endlessly be like, say this on X. No, you fucking owned him in that call, man. That was a sick call, Like, it's just like, dude, you're podcasters. You're not politicians. Yes. Like, it's cringy to watch. It's really bad. And also, like what you were saying before, I suppose the thing that did really highlight it to me, because I was like, yeah, okay, he has just put in all these oddballs and psychos into the American apparatchik, and I expected that. But I did not expect that the head of the FBI both are just there because they're podcast bros. Like, this is the FBI.
I know.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Could you just imagine going back to some congressman in the 60s and saying that this is the head of the FBI now? He would have a heart attack.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Like it's still to this day. This is a prank. This can't be who's at the head.
Because I had no idea who Kash Patel was, because I remember them doing all the Senate committee stuff, and like it was coming up a lot, and like I was trying to keep abreast of it like slightly, but I didn't know who Kash Patel was, and I was like, why are they making such a big deal about it? Is it because he's like Indian or something and they don't like him? But like they were grilling him because they were like, is this honestly who you are going to put forward as the director of the FBI? And there was another guy in there already, an established, let's say, credentialed bureaucrat, someone who was in that position in the FBI, a Republican anyway, but not a Trump loyalist. And he had 2 years still on his term. And so the way that the American system has figured out, and I think this is something from like 100 years ago at least, but like the way the American system has figured out certain type of bureaucratic positions, like the head of the FBI, is they serve 10 years. Because that puts them out of the reach of a president that might serve 2 terms, and then potentially try and appoint the head of the FBI as someone that's aligned with their own political interests.
Mm.
And so this guy still had 2 years left, and Trump really couldn't say to him, hey, you've got to step down. I'm going to put Kash Patel in. But like the writing was on the wall. And so this guy resigned 2 years early, kind of thing. And so they got Kash Patel in. They already had a seasoned veteran in front, like heading the FBI as FBI director. And Trump was like, no.
Not good enough.
Not good. He's not a loyalist.
He's not a loyalist.
And now you have podcast bro, Kash Patel, who was like in the lead up all the way up until January 2025 being just like, we have the files and we are going to release the files on like every podcast, and you see them all just like, you know, high-fiving each other kind of thing. We're going to do it. We're going to bring the Democrats down. And like one of his promises, Kash Patel, was he's going to go in there and he's going to start arresting Democrats and stuff like that. He's going to fucking bring them down. He's going to bring the deep state down. And that's why Trump got him in. And like he was just like kind of some no-name. I think he was in the FTC at one point. So he was actually, you know, he was working for the Department of Justice, I believe, or something like that. He was a state attorney of some sorts, but like pretty much a no-name. But a loyal one.
Yeah, but a loyal one.
But a loyal one.
Yep. And then the head of the DOJ, just a lawyer of Trump's. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. But like, you know, that's the system. That's Trump's America. And it's really showing
Actually,
the class divide.
Well, it's also showing the class divide, but you know what else it's showing? It is showing just the institutional cogs falling off and falling apart. Because again, these are professions, and if Trump didn't do that, honestly, if he did have just Republicans in office doing this, they would be handling this so much better. I think that that's also another big part of all of this is like, wow, man, if you do not have qualified people at the helms of these, things fall apart very fast, you know?
It's true. And like, you know, the real argument then falls down to like on a philosophical level, if nothing else, the difference between technocracy and democracy then, like which is better. And what we're talking about here is there's some bureaucrats that really know the science of politics and they know how to make it work. And they know how to speak to the people and make sure everyone's calm and like, you know, how to smooth over a situation. Diplomats, you know, professionals.
And actually run the institution.
Or democracy, which is a popularity contest. And Trump is bringing that out to the fore, that it's like, okay, you can be popular and like win the hearts and minds of the people, or you can have people that are really good parts or cogs in the machine. And the American machine is a big machine. Like it is a well-oiled machine that has been gathering more and more mass over the last 100 years. For the longest time, American politics at the federal level was really about keeping it as small as possible so the states had as much independence as possible. And over time, you had more and more people bringing in new departments, Department of Justice. You know where the Department of Justice came from? I learned this the other day. The Department of Justice came in after the Civil War during the Reconstruction era, and the southern states weren't listening to or weren't taking appeals or cases lodged by black people because they didn't like black people in the southern states. And so like the American state, like the United States of America were like, we just fought the Civil War. The least you could do is pretend you care about the rights of black people. So let's like let them into the courts. And the southern states were like, we'll get back to you, Barry. And they weren't doing it. So they created the Department of Justice, which was a federal level agency that could come over and hear cases of black people.
Okay.
And that was the birth of the Department of Justice. So for so long, America has not needed or not wanted to have federal level agents at all because they didn't want that overreach from the federal government. They wanted to be independent. But like the federal government built itself up over time to deal with the deep problems of America, the deep social, political, economic problems of America. And so, like, it's this massive machine now. And it's this massive machine, not just because people just woke up one day and were just like, let's take away everyone's rights. It was like trying to sort out a lot of, you know, they got some laundry to get through, the Americans, as a society.
Huh? What do you mean?
Dirty laundry, if you know what I mean.
No.
And they've got some bad skeletons in their closet. They've got some issues to sort out. And so the federal government has been built up over time to deal with all of the shit that the Americans have gone through over the last 200 years, basically. From civil rights movements to like the Gilded Age, where you had like, you know, robber barons who basically were controlling the entire of America for their own profit. And so like you had all of these federal departments, one after another, added to the mix, like the EPA. Like all of these departments added one after another to basically rally in powerful interest groups in America, whether they're rich people or the KKK. They were there to rally, to rein in these large scale and rather nefarious special interest groups, really. So, like, it is a huge machine, the federal government. And so, like, the question, again, technocracy or democracy? And for a country with as much political power, economic power, and military power as America, hey, superpower number one, hegemon, you know, the emperors of the capitalist world order, I think you need a lot of technocrats to make that machine run. You can't just have a popular figure, a symbol of democracy with a bunch of loyalists.
Nah. It's not going to work.
We're seeing it.
We're seeing it right now.
We're seeing it. It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
It's really what he's doing at the moment. Have you heard like what he's done in Washington? Just like yesterday?
No.
How he's called in the National Guard on Washington.
Why?
Because Washington is going through a crime wave and he needs to clean up the streets of Washington. Now, this is all reports coming out of, you know, people like CNN and Democracy Now! And all that sort of stuff. And they're just like, actually, crime in Washington, D.C. has dropped like 29% over the last like 10 years. It's at its record lows. But he's like, no, the criminals, the gangsters, you know, they've taken over and there's too many homeless people, so we're going to get them. Basically, he's going to get the National Guard in and FBI agents on the beat. And people are like, I don't think FBI agents know how to, like, they're not regular cops and they have no jurisdiction on the streets of Washington, but he's bringing them in. Now, I'm no historian, but when a populist figure marches troops onto a nation's capital, what happens in history? Like, usually that's some type of a coup or a takeover of some sort. When they've decided, no, I'm going to take matters into my own hands and I'm going to get the troops in, kind of thing. This has never happened in American history.
Really?
Not on Washington, D.C. Other states, other cities, yes. But like, this is the first time someone's used these powers like this before, just like on a pretense like this, that there's too much crime. And he's like, no, the criminals, they've taken over. Like, and he's bringing in the National Guard.
Don't you think that this is just not going to fly, though? This is what I always think. Every time everyone always says, oh, well, look, it's going to take over and it's going to be turned into, I don't know, a military dictatorship or whatever. You always think, yeah, but it's a country that has such a long history of democracy. They'll be pissed off about it. They won't let it happen, I don't think.
Like, when this was going down, you know, in January and February, and people were just like, that's it. Fascism has come to America. You know, like, he's going to take over. Like, I would roll my eyes, you know. But, like, this is pretty on the nose now. Like, it's Washington. This isn't the LA riots. This is Washington. He's bringing in the National Guard to clean up Washington. On what pretense? Crime, which apparently, again, according to the liberal establishment, has gone down. So what justification do you actually have for bringing in the National Guard? It's pretty hardcore, man. It's pretty hardcore.
So there's no other explanation for it. It's just he wants to look menacing. and, you know, show the eggheads what's what.
Basically. Pretty much. It's like there's no governor in Washington. It's a district. So you basically have kind of your local councils, your mayor, basically. You have a mayor. There's no governor, no state body. So after the mayor, it's like Trump,
The president.
Trump as the head of state. He has the call. And like he's bringing them in. And people are like, there's an act that legislates this. And people are like, it's never been used like this before. It's never really been picked up at all, actually. They're like, he's bringing in the boys.
Are you able to get rid of a president that decides that they want to become a dictator? Is there some sort of constitutional mechanism for that?
Well, look, I would say it is like the whole ethos of the American dream to not allow a tyrant. Like the whole American project was about that. And so like, you know, if you want to point to a particular amendment or article within an amendment about this, like it's literally the entire thing, the Bill of Rights, like the inalienable rights of these citizens. The amendments themselves are all geared around stopping some tyrannical figure / tyrannical government from coming in.
Yes.
And fucking on the people.
Yes.
So like I would say the entire document, it's all geared towards that.
This is what's so strange to me. It always seems like it's a place that seems like it couldn't go down the way of becoming, I don't know, like a Belarus or something. It just,
it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
It just doesn't seem like that. Surely that can't happen.
But
like I'm sure people are going to try in its history, like what you're saying right now.
But like, you know,
can't see it succeeding.
But I know. But like, if you just look at it like objectively,
like honestly, okay, I honestly think Australia would be a lot more susceptible to it than America. But go on.
But like, could you really imagine that?
What?
Like them getting in the reserves or something and just lining the streets of Canberra?
No, I couldn't imagine it, but I could also imagine that Australians would be like, "This is bullshit. What are you going to do about it? Nothing." You know, like I can imagine that.
Yes, like.
But it seems like Americans are just so. But then again, it is Trump's base that are the psychos that are ready to go with guns, and so maybe if you got the right guys on your side. Yeah, actually,
like, honestly, just like if you like take away all of the identity politics, the culture wars, all of that usual stuff that like kind of impairs your vision. If you were just looking at this from the outside and being like, there are troops, he's calling in troops into Washington to line the streets, you would have had to have thought that this was some type of potential military dictatorship that was coming. Like on a pretense like that. Like there's no riots. There's no invasion. There's no natural disaster, some type of catastrophe to line the streets with troops to like, I don't know, there's been some big infrastructure issue and they need engineers in there digging holes and building bridges. Like it's literally because of crime. And this is the same pretense that they've increased Border Patrol spending. Like the big part of the big, beautiful bill was bringing in more money to get more ICE agents.
Damn, dude.
On the beat.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Heaps more ICE agents.
And it was all on the same pretense that like, you know, we're under invasion. These illegals are coming here and they're criminals.
Well, I tell you what, now that you're saying this, I'm reading this book at the moment called Democracy for Realists. It's so depressing.
With a name like that.
It's just everything that you suspected about democracy, but it was these two political scientists that started putting it together and saying, all right, let's look at how democracy actually functions.
Like in the 1900s?
No, this would have been 2010.
Oh, okay, right. Yep.
And they were saying, let's just break this down and see how it really does work. I think that the example that they're kind of giving is you go around the world and you ask people, is your society democratic? You go to Russia, you go to China, they basically think that their societies are just as democratic as the United States is, right? Everyone thinks that they live in a democracy, everyone. and they think that their system is perfect, and they think that they are coming up with their decisions themselves, and it's like a consensus of all the people coming together and looking at the policies, and this is the idea. And honestly, I've got to say, that is the most self-serving idea. Anybody that ever says this, it's such a teal thing to say. Teals always use this phrase. It's so obnoxious, policy over party. You know what that is just a derivative of as well? It's like, it's everything about the Teals is just a rebrand, but it's from country over party, which was something back in the day. But they've made it that because their identity is like, we're not liberals. We look at the policies because we're independent. We're independent thinkers, so we look at the policy. So, you know, it's just such a great encompassing view of how people who think they're smart think. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, I make my mind up by looking at the issues. No, you don't. Really what happens is your tribe decides this is the issue, and then you backwards rationalize from there, and we all do it. And like, if you don't even acknowledge that, like, why? That is just a no-go to me as soon as someone says that at this day in my life, right? Like, just, in fact, even just the phrase, I'm an independent, you know, you look at American stats in this day and age, and they're just like, everyone is an independent. It's like, how do you vote? Oh, Democrat every time. It's like, well, yeah, you're a real independent, you know? Like, it's just bullshit. It's just a label that people put in their heads because it plays into this thing of, I'm a smart citizen, you know? I don't do any work. I don't think about anything, but I'm a smart, informed citizen. It's just... It's a moniker that they put on themselves. But anyway, in Democracy for Realists, they're talking about that and how everybody thinks that they live in this democracy and everybody thinks that it's the ideal. And anyway, you look at how elections actually work, man, it's even worse than you think, right? Like, you would think, a really good example, economic turmoil times. You would think that during economic turmoil, people would elect a quote-unquote progressive party or politician to redistribute wealth. You know what it shows every time? Politicians that are progressive. Like, I think there was ones in Canada that actually were just called like the Socialist Party or something like that back in the 30s or 20s or something. And they were in power at the time, and they were doing like very heavy wealth redistribution during some of the worst economic times you've ever seen. Kicked out, you know? You look at conservatives, and you would think that during times of prosperity, they would remain in power and they would be punished when there is low economic circumstances. If there's bad economic circumstances and in just like the last few months before an election, there's just a sudden uptick in the economy, they'll get back in. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? It basically just bases on the general vibe of how people feel when they walk outside. That's it. They're just like, oh, this street has more lease signs than it normally has. It must be the president's fault, you know? Like, that's how it actually gets to this point. They were using this as an example. I can't remember which president it was now, but heavy Democratic district, there was shark attacks that happened. It went from 0 shark attacks over the last 100 years to 3 in the few months before the election, and you can just see the map. They show it, and as anything around the coast flips to Republican, and everything that wasn't near the coast stays Democrat. And then it goes to like, and then it just goes, let's look at weather, and it's just like, if the weather was bad that week, a president is unelected. They were honestly saying, like, according to their data of holding up all the elections and weather stuff, they were saying if there was not as much rain during the 2000 election, Al Gore wouldn't have needed Florida. He would have just outright fucking won. It's like that. These are the decisions that people are basing the democracy on. So, like, the idea that everyone's sitting there and saying, oh, America is like the beacon of democracy, and I'm saying it as well, because it is just that is your conditioning. That's what you've been raised to believe since an early age. But really, no one even really knows generally. They think it's something to do with elections or something like that. And that's why, like, you ask someone in Russia, for instance, are you in a democracy? And they're like, yeah, because we have elections, you know? China, yeah, we've got elections. Everyone. North Korea, yes, we have elections, so we're a democracy, you know? Like, there's really not much theatre that needs to be put into the idea of a democracy for people to think that you live in one. So maybe it actually does just boil down to that. I mean, look, the reason that Trump is in at the moment, it actually is making me start to rethink. I was sitting there and thinking, oh, it must be because of the podcast bros that that they got in. Dude, I'm back to square one. I honestly think it's like what we were saying. We all know this, right? That like if there is a government in when there's bad economic times, they get hammered. They get punished, right? Globally, you could see it after the cost of living crisis. Every government, regardless of their stripes, across the planet, hammered during cost of living crisis. It's their fault that it's happening. That's the only reason that Donald Trump is in, right? And like the only reason that Donald Trump was out in the other time was because COVID happened.
Yes.
Don't you think? And that's pretty much it. That's what's dictating it. So maybe a dictator is really easy to implement. It could be. Maybe they just do put in the National Guard and then just that's just how things are governed from then on and people get on.
And people get on with it. And
maybe.
people just get on with it. Because like your sentiment was like, hey, when you heard that was kind of like, damn, I'm sure the American people would do something about that, right? They wouldn't let that happen. And they're just kind of just sitting there and just be like, hey, why are the troops marching in? Don't worry about it. Like, honestly. And they're just like, oh, okay, we better just check the legislation. And like, that's pretty much all that's happened. You have these commentators that are just like, yeah, we're looking into it. We've got our legal teams. And they're going to send an angry letter to someone. And that's all that's happened as a result of this so far. So like, look, I think it's pretty much out there that they're investigating trying to get him a third term anyway. Like multiple people within his administration have said it. His strategists have said it. His MAGA base have said it. They're investigating it. They've got lawyers on it, and they're going to figure out a way to get him a third term. This is writing on the wall stuff here. They're not fucking around with this one. It's in Project 2025 without really being there, but you can read kind of between the lines of it. It's part of the general consensus now out of the conservative think tanks in America. It's like, we need to save this country, and we need to save it from, ostensibly from the Democrats, but like they just want a Republican, I don't know how else to say, but like a one-party system. They're done with the flipping here, and they believe that Trump, because of his personality, you've said he's a glitch in the matrix, he's potentially the type of person that could do it. Any other politician is just too much of a regular. They're a politician and they're made from the system. But he's such an enigma, such an iconoclast. He's out there and he could pull this stuff off because people, before they know it, that's the Trump effect. Before they know it, it's already upon them. That's what he does. He just like kind of bamboozles, like, hey, look over here kind of thing. And like the troops are in Washington, D.C. And people are like, hey, how did they get there? And like, that's what
yeah, and he's off onto five other ADD tweets and
exactly.
And
everyone's
on.
like, what? Flood the zone. Classic Stephen Bannon rhetoric. Right? And that's what he does. And he does it really, really well. That's why the Epstein stuff was also interesting, because he wasn't able to do what he usually does, which is when he wants to change the conversation, he does. And so he wasn't able to do that this time. So it was
remarkable.
It was remarkable. It was lovely watching him squirm on that one. It was. You could see it.
Yeah, because he didn't know how to play it.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And like, it was nice to see that.
And honestly, you know what? I keep thinking over and over again, if he was just able to shut his mouth, but it's never his... It's not his trump card as being quiet when he needs to be. No. Because he never needs to be quiet. It's never ever helped him ever. But yeah, just in that interview when Pam Bondi was just saying these are the findings and stuff, if he just shut up and just let her say, like, honestly, don't you think that a lot of it, and then he could just be like, well, I think that there's some more things there and we'll be looking into the... He could have just done that.
Yes.
But instead he was just like, why are you still talking about this? You know, he got involved immediately. He had to say something.
Had to. If he's in the room, like, there's a lot of egos out there that are like that, especially people that are prominent or think that they're very powerful. If they're in the room, they got to have their 2 cents. They got to add it. And they got to, like, you know, lead the conversation. All right, this is what you got to be thinking about now, kind of thing. And like, people, this is why it's a very interesting situation. People have made up their own minds about this one, the Epstein one, and they want to see some level of...
It's always,
justice.
You know what's interesting? It's always a legal case. Isn't that interesting? A legal case always seems to define cultural morality. You know, like you had the OJ case I suppose the Lewinsky scandal sort of counts as one of those. These are sort of the things that people gather around, and that kind of becomes the zeitgeist of what is and isn't acceptable. Epstein's just another one of these. It is a legal case that bled over into politics, and people just thought, like, no, enough is enough. It's really strange. It's really weird that law does that. I suppose that is kind of, law is really where you decide your morals, I suppose. So, look, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Well, like, my analysis of that, and I've been thinking about this one a lot more recently, is we live in a bourgeois society. Like, our democratic system is called bourgeois democracy. That's what the term liberal democracy really means. It's a bourgeois system. And the thing about the bourgeois was, like, everybody always talks to them about, like, their rise to power, their ascendancy as being, rooted in the merchant classes and commercial classes. They were people that were traders and bankers, and, like, they controlled the economy, and then they took over because they had money. But, like, a lot of these people, the original bourgeois that set up, the French society after the French Revolution, or the founding fathers, they were actually, they were men with wealth, and they probably came from rich families that were once merchants and traders. They were all lawyers. They were all lawyers, the people that sit down and write constitutions and, like, systematically go through and write bills of rights and structure parliaments and congresses. They're all lawyers. Bourgeois society is actually centered around the legal system. The political system is where you discuss the issue of the day. Let's say you make some policy decisions, but if you want to battle those policy decisions out, you want to battle those issues of the day out, it's done in the court system. It's done in the court system. And, like, if you are a prominent person, if you are of anyone of notoriety, wealth, or status, you have a legal team. You have an army of lawyers. They follow you around like they are your retainers, or like they're your personal guard, like you would have had back in the day if you were a feudal lord, or if you were an emperor in an ancient time. You would have had a Praetorian Guard. Today's Praetorian Guard is
lawyers,
team of lawyers. And bourgeois society, that's it. And, like, you're right. It's defining moments like that in a bourgeois system. They're decided in the courts. It's not decided democratically.
No.
That's actually the sideshow, really. Like, they're a head of state. They're important. They kiss babies. They shake hands. They go on diplomatic missions. Like, it's good to have them. But, like, if you really want to know, like you said, culturally, where a society is made, or it's decided, it's through the Supreme Court. Someone lodges an appeal on something.
Yeah.
And then they will make the final judgment. They make all the judgments on the Constitution, and they ultimately decide. Like, every time Trump is upset about something, what does he do? He uses the court system. What he's doing with the universities at the moment, he's not just cutting the funding, he's taking them through the courts.
Dude, you know what's actually fuck? Okay, now that you're mentioning this, I can't remember who was saying this, but there was... It goes back to the democracy and change theory, but Republicans, his big highlight of his theory was that over the last 50 years, the Democrats have focused on winning elections and the Republicans have focused on stacking courts. And he was saying that it is because they fully understand exactly what you're saying, that is how a nation is truly forged. It's forged in the courts. It is not forged in parliaments. And this really just goes down to the divide, and you can hear it in their names. It's actually... They are incredibly honest political names, aren't they? Republicans and Democrats. Like, the Republicans are there because they believe in the institutions of the country, whereas the Democrats believe in, like, the democratic process. And it just shows how weak and flimsy the democratic process is. there's no point in cajoling popular opinion. It doesn't matter as long as you're getting it siphoned through. These are the legal parameters in which popular opinion can be discussed and expressed.
Yes.
That's it. So if, like, yeah, they picked the right battle ages ago. And for whatever reason, Democrats thought what you're saying. It was like the sideshow was the way to go. I suppose that's just what you go to when you don't have money and expertise on your side. You move to the sideshow.
Yeah, they don't.
And you're naturally going to have more victory there because you're saying things that are more appealing to the general public. So you're it's going to feel cozier there. But that's not where you go.
Like, they have money. What they don't have is the structure and coordination, the foresight that the conservative movement has. They've just been part of a strategic machine for longer. The Democrats they appeal to too many bases. And I think that's just a problem of the modern progressive movement, potentially. They try to, like, kind of appeal to as many people as possible. But, like, the conservatives, they don't play into that.
No.
They don't bother. They get down to business.
Yes.
They get straight onto the 3D chessboard and they're just like, all right, this is where we need to move to have real control over this.
Well, it really goes down to the ethos because, man, you know what conservatives actually think? It's not truly a bad argument. It's just because there's been such an intellectual dearth of conservatism as the idea over the past, 50 years. There's just no one, like, who are the intellectuals? It's like Jordan Peterson. He's a psychologist.
Yeah.
You know, he's a smart guy, but he's not a political scientist.
Yeah.
These guys don't really, or at the very least, they're not very public or prevalent, and they don't seem to be in the public space.
Yes.
Maybe they are behind think tanks, some great thinkers, and that's probably where they are. But generally, where they're putting out their literature and their ideas, that's really dried up. That, especially, like, you can see with their constant complaint about universities just being this hub of, liberal SJWs, and so that they aren't getting their ideas fanned out. But you know what conservatism really boils down to as a theory, which isn't, honestly, it's not even a bad argument. It's kind of just like, look, we're the ones that know how these systems function. We're the ones with the education. We're the ones that know how banks run. You plebs are fucking idiots. You don't even know what you want. The things that you want contradict themselves. You want these things implemented that are impossible. You're very easily swayed by anyone that comes through. Get out of the way. Leave us alone. Yeah. That's really what their argument is, you know? And like, not wrong.
Yeah.
They're not wrong. And this is just living proof of it. They actually do seem to understand how power actually functions. And that's what you're saying with that. Exactly what you're saying there. They're not interested in the democratic game because they understand that it's a sideshow. It's what you were saying there before. They are interested in getting down to business and controlling institutions.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, the interesting thing about how you put it there is that in a bourgeois society, the people that set up what we have at the moment, liberal democracies, they never intended, ever, by any stretch of the imagination, we've got to make that really clear when we look at our current political system, they never intended regular people, normies, commoners, plebs, to be part of that system. The only way you got a vote in these original institutions, Republicans and Democrats, or anywhere in liberal democratic societies, was you had property, you paid enough tax, or you had a certain amount of income. And that was it. If you had one of those three things, it meant that you were part of the economy somehow, in terms of you made decisions in the economy, and therefore you were worthy of a vote. That was the bourgeois system. And when universal enfranchisement came along and people were having those discussions, they were just like, hold on. This system of representative government here, it's liberal democratic society. This was about how to manage economics. How to make sure the system works in a world where you have kind of global trade and you have to kind of manage your own economy to ensure that you have enough resources at your disposal, enough industry, agriculture, and services to satisfy your population's needs. So if you can make money in that system and you can employ people and own property or have some level of wealth, then obviously you can have a say. So you get a vote. But like the plebs, they don't know the economy. They just want to eat and they want to have somewhere to live and raise a family. But they don't understand how the economy works. And so they don't get access to this system. So universal enfranchisement used to terrify them because all they thought was going to happen. And this is funny because it ties back to the point you were making earlier about people having absolutely no understanding that they could vote in their own interests. They just vote on whether the weather was good or not. But like the bourgeois that set up these systems were just like, as soon as they get universal enfranchisement, the working people of the world, the plebs, the commoners, as soon as they get it, they're just going to vote for people that just redistribute all the wealth and they won't be wealthy people anymore. That makes logical sense. If you were a mass group in a democratic system, you would just vote for with all your other mates, your comrades, and just change the whole system to redistribute all the wealth and there won't be any wealthy people anymore. We will completely disappear as a class. And it never happened. Never happened. But they were just like, but that's what you would do if you understood how economics works, how society really functions. You could just use the system to take everything.
But
and you could have it all.
Little did they know that they don't know how the economy functions, and that's the
but that's the thing. They had no idea, and so like all these people were like, "Wow, they're voting, and they haven't taken away all of our shit yet. Maybe they don't understand. We just got to keep them divided for long enough, and then we can stay in control. They can have their vote. They can have it." But like they were so frightened. They were like, as soon as they get it, as soon as they get the vote, we're fucked. It's the end of the world. And so you had all these bourgeois types doomsdaying so hard on universal enfranchisement. They did not want to have it. Like obviously it came in steps. It was first all white men, then it was like all males, and then women, and then everyone else, whoever's outside of those demographics. But like, you know what I mean? Like it was progressive, but they were just so sure that majority rules in that type of system, and people would just vote in their class interests. Never happened. Never fucking happened. And like you're right to it. It's an unfortunate reality. It's really an unfortunate reality that the conservatives have maintained that understanding that in a liberal democratic society, in a system that is built around capital and wealth accumulation and economics, not some other system like a class system, like a feudal system or an aristocracy or an authoritarian regime, if it's built around markets, that like the economy is what rules, and you got to know how to manage an economy. And so like everything is kind of a ruse to make sure the right people are managing the economy, and that's where the division is. It's a battle between different sections of the bourgeoisie, different factions in the bourgeoisie. And you can see that beautifully in American politics. Beautifully. You have potentially people that are more aligned with the military-industrial complex, potentially voting or siding with the Republicans, that section of the bourgeoisie. You have apparently people from Silicon Valley. They used to be very Democrat-focused, now are behind the Republicans. They're definitely behind Trump. I don't know if they're real Republican voters, but they love Trump. And then you have like corporatists and like kind of that funky kind of corporation sector of the bourgeoisie. They're behind more of the Democrats, I would say, generally. You have the fossil fuel industry. They're more Republican, I would say. So like you have factions within that class, the bourgeois class, and they align with different people because they're like, this person will manage the economy, or this group, this party will manage it better in my interest. But they're all going to manage it for their interest anyway. It's just about how to control the rabble and get them to vote in the right way. Or in America, which is why I really take exception to the American system. they don't have compulsory voting. And like a lot of American tactics in politics is about voter suppression. And the Republicans are big on that. Like tricking people into not voting, basically. Don't worry about it. You don't have to show up. It's okay. Don't worry about it. That's like the ones, like it's a massive saving grace in this country that like people are obliged to vote.
It's huge, isn't it?
Dude.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So good.
We're lucky.
Oh, unbelievably lucky about it. Really lucky.
Very lucky.
And also, like, this is something that I said in a previous video, but the other thing that I think is a great thing about the Australian electoral system is the fact that you have preferential voting is so much better than the first past the post system that most of the world has. And way better than all these other like experimental ones that they had of proportional voting in the EU and shit. Because then you just get psychos that are elected. On either of those sides, you get psychos because those systems usually are predicated off of rabbling up the most enthused, energetic people to go vote. And who are those people normally? The dregs of society that have got some like mental bee in their bonnet, and they're usually nutbags. And that is what is crippling Europe. That's what's crippling the United States. Here we have compulsory voting, so everyone has to turn up, which means you have sane people going to the polls that just aren't interested in politics. But they kind of, you know, around election time, they get some general gist. And also on top of that, the fact that you have preferential voting means that everybody that's just like, I want that nutbag elected, it's just like, yeah, okay, but if you couldn't have that nutbag elected, who would you pick after that? And they're like, oh, I guess the competent lawyer that's been working for 30 years, like he seems all right, you know? That's a good system.
It is lucky in that regard.
It's so lucky.
Yeah. That's actually funny. I haven't heard it framed like that before, but that makes sense. Yes, I'll vote for the psycho, but if you really twisted my arm, I guess this guy's a good idea. And this is like, so all the people that are counting the votes are like, well, thank God they've got a number 2. Like, let's go to number 3 then. Maybe let's just check. Let's just see if they're paying attention. I actually used to count votes back in the day.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I've worked at a few elections. It's quite funny. A lot of this stuff. I guess it depends where you're coming from.
How many fucked cunts come,
bro?
It's scary, right?
Bro. I used to actually stand. Sometimes I used to stand at the front to make sure people were.
Yeah, keep going. I'm gonna. You want to take?
Yes, actually. Yeah, I used to actually. I used to actually be like the doorman at one of the places that I used to work at. And like there are a lot of psychos out there that just have absolutely no regard for anyone else who's trying to vote. And like, you know, people have got shit to do on a Saturday. They got to take their kids to sport. They got to go to Bunnings because they got projects to work on. So they got things to do. And like people would line up for like, you know, to be, you know, first in line for the day so they can go off and do their other shit. And like the line would go around the block or whatever. And like there'd be some psychos that just jump the queue and come right up the front and try and cut all these people out. And I used to have like altercations with them out the front. And I'd be like, sorry, the queue's around the block. Go to the back, please. And they're like, I've got to vote. I need to vote or I'm going to get a fine. And I'm just like, yeah. And so are all these other people.
Fuck.
Go to the back. And they're just like, and a few of them will be like, no, I'm not leaving. You're trying to make me get a fine. And they're like, I'm going to stand here. And I'm just like, all right, fine. If this person that's been lining up for the last half an hour is okay with that. And then they'll turn around and they'll be like, you don't mind if I stand here, do you? You don't mind if I cut in line? And the person just looks at them and then just like kind of looks down at the ground, like shakes their head kind of thing. And I'm just like, see, he doesn't want to have a bar of you either. Fuck off back to the end of the queue. And they're just like, I'm going to get a fine and I'm going to make you pay for it. As they're like walking around the block kind of thing. And I'm just like,
their voice
okay,
getting smaller.
Yeah. Smaller. And I'm going to make you pay for it. Like kind of thing. And I'm just like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, you want my postal address?
This is a violation of my civil liberties.
Yeah. Oh, bro. It was hilarious. But like, yeah, I used to count votes at the end of the day. We used to like just do general counting. We didn't get down to the finer details, but like so many votes. And like, I appreciate this because they came out and they did their civic duty. Like they came out and they wrote something on the paper, but like so many ballots just had a dick on it. So many ballots. So good. And like you had to make a decision if they actually put it in the box. whether it was like akin to a 1 in that box or not. And like you'd have to make a decision. You're like, were they actually voting or just drawing a dick? Is that like them putting a 1 in that box? And like you have to make a call. And like you'd have a scrutineer and you'd be like, do you want me to consider that as a 1? And they're just like, no, that's definitely I can see the shaft. And oh, yep, that 2 testicles. Yep, that constitutes a penis. Move it along. And you're just like, thank you, scrutineer. I value your opinion. But like, or, and I love this, and I guess this was just where I was counting votes. It's just like heaps of the votes in there were up the Tigers or something like that. Go the Tigers. Like, fair enough. At least they did their civic duty. They came out and wrote, "Go the Tigers." That was beautiful. Those were the more memorable occasions for me.
Why did you do this?
I don't know. A friend of mine was in charge of a polling station, and he was like, "Dude, I needed 2 IC." And he's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I was working at in local government at the time, and so like we basically got given a polling station because they needed people to manage it, and like he was a trustworthy bureaucrat, so he was reliable. He got he was in charge, and he was like, "Yeah, I needed 2 IC to run the day." And yeah, like I said, I would be out the front, like managing people, like especially the people that do all the campaigning, right? They have the flyers, they have the posters and stuff, and they're like really hustling people right to the entry to the polling station. And there's a line, there's like rules about where they can go and where they can't go. And like I used to have all these, depending again where I was working, but I used to have all these fully six, like trying to cross into the polling station and follow people with leaflets and trying to get them to vote. And I used to be like, you can't cross the line. Like you are breaching the rules on this one. Can you just step back? And they're just like,
when cultures collide, it really sounds like just going to Lebanon and just walking out the airport and be like, "Hello, taxi, mes friends." Like,
but like, I used to, at one point I was literally security guarding that stuff. And I was trying to force these people back to not cross the line. And I was like, you can't do this. You can't follow people in and harass them. Don't you understand that that's a problem? And they're just like, you are just encroaching on my rights, and I'm going to call such and such. And they call their local whoever to come down and try and sort it out. And they threatened to call the cops on me. And I was like, go for it, bro. Please. You call the cops, and then we can explain to the police why I'm trying to stop you from entering a place where you're not supposed to be entering. Go for it. Let's see how far that gets you. And like I used to have a lot of those types of altercations as well. That was funny. That was interesting times.
It's always the same. Every time.
Process.
Yeah, I know that's where it gets real. I've got to do an AEC workers confess their sins. That'll be great. That'll be incredible.
Yeah, because they would have seen some funny things over time as well. Some characters.
Totally.
Some characters.
Totally. It's just, but come on, like how disproportionate is it? How many people are in the line that you think, why do you have to have a vote?
Yeah.
What percentage is that?
Dude, like a good third of people.
Oh my God.
Only because again, it's a Saturday, people got shit to do. And so like they're rocking up and you can see it. And this is why I love mandatory voting. Because like these people wouldn't come.
No way.
There's no way. They are megally inconvenienced by this. And they're looking at me like, you're the reason I'm here. I have
this
waited
is
in
your
lines
fault.
for 20 minutes. I could have been at Macca's by now.
You're going to find me.
You're the reason.
How do you know my name?
And like they just have absolutely no interest in it. And like they're already aligned some way or another. Talking about like cultural inclinations. Like they already know they're going to vote for. They pick the one pamphlet and they tell everybody else to get fucked. They're like, don't come near me. Like I think you can see it on their faces. And they just fly in and fly out. Like they have absolutely no care. Absolutely no care. But like, yeah, I'd say a good 30% of people just looked generally.
I wonder what the divide is then, because look, obviously I have this feeling, but every time I go and vote, I always have this like, I wish that I had some sort of 20s hat that'd be like, well, I fulfilled my civic duty. And
yes.
but
Yes, 100%. I love the feeling as well. Like, yes, if I rock up and it's busy, I'm like, oh man. But like, but afterwards, it's just like, I remember the first time being able to vote as like an 18-year-old and stuff like that. Like, I was so excited because it was election year as well. I'm pretty sure when I turned 18, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, fuck yeah. Like, this is it, man. I'm being initiated into society. I'm one of I'm one of these people.
It was like getting your P's or something.
Yes, it was something like that. I remember just feeling like I was part of, I don't know, it's like an initiation ceremony or something like that. I've been branded. I'm a registered voter. I'm part of the system, man. Yeah, but like...
It's the Australian brisk.
But like, no. Yeah, I would say 30% of people at least just looked heavily inconvenienced. And like, I really did appreciate when like social media really became a thing and like voting was happening and people were just like, yes, I'm getting my, what is it, democracy sausage or something. Like people like the sausage sizzle culture. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really interesting cultural element that is built around democratic participation. Like, I don't know how many other countries like have that type of stuff built in to their process, where it's just like, oh, while I'm here, I'll grab a sausage sandwich.
Don't think there's many.
Yeah.
Don't think there's any, actually. I can't think of any other country that has a positive ring around voting. There's sort of an epicness to the American one, but it's always so desperate.
Yes, like the American one, like if you vote there, it's just like, especially depending on where you're voting, it's just like, I did it. I made it, like kind of like,
yeah,
they make it like it's a fucking obstacle course for like the ultimate warrior or something like that. It's so hard. And then just like, I waited 8 hours in line. Like I made a difference. Like kind of thing. It's crazy, man. Like you got to feel for these people. You really got to feel.
Everything in England always just sounds depressing and drab. So that doesn't have any positive connotation to it. They really hate their politicians there. I didn't realize there's like a completely different culture based around it, but it is just whoever is in government, just bludgeon them endlessly. That's what it is. Just endless bitterness and hatred.
They've got
man, we're so much better, huh?
They've got a long history to be skeptical of their political establishment. So many iterations of like... of parties that have really not had any interest in like the general population, I would say, for the longest part, throughout the 18th century, the 19th century. Like, okay, you could argue now that the parties are a little bit more attuned with the public opinion. For a long time, English politics was for the Whigs, man.
Well, yeah, that was the difference between it, wasn't it? It was just king loyalists and mercantile loyalists.
That's pretty much it.
That was it.
Yeah, and everyone else was just like cannon fodder kind of thing. It's like, come on, go and vote for one of the two. Go on, enjoy yourself. Dude,
come on. Wouldn't it just be fucking glorious if one day King Charles came in and just dissolved Parliament? I just want to see it. I just want to see it. I want to be alive for that moment. With that golden orb that they always have while doing it. It's so fucking good. Please. Nothing like, we're never going to see anything that dramatic ever again, I swear.
Nah.
There's never going to be one of those moments. It can't happen in the United States. I suppose, actually, look, Nixon just kind of like crying and then getting into a helicopter and flying away is sort of the same thing. It's sort of similar.
Nah, it's never going to happen now.
You're never going to see anything that sort of disrupts that. But look, now we're talking about it. Trump might be the closest thing to it.
But like
him just saying, I'm just going to go for as many elections as I can. That's sort of the same.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and
But I'm talking about someone just kind of being like, there will be no more democratic process. Good day. Like, it's just like, it's not going to happen, you know?
Yeah. And they walk up to Parliament House and like nail their letter to the doors of Parliament. Now closed. Signed. King Charles. You're like, hey, I was working in there. Yeah.
I have to show you that. I have to show you, like, I was watching the last time that happened, which was King Charles II. and they've got like, because it's like one of those shitty POV BBC dramas that are mad. They're always like, every time you watch them, you're just like, oh, geez, I know these actors' faces, but I don't know their names. The shucks. You know those ones that you watch? And it always is, because it's just like you start watching it, and purely just because you actually are watching good actors, as opposed to just in America where they're like, yeah, that looks like a black newsboy. Chuck him in, you know? Like it's they actually are thespian trained, so they're just incredible at it. But his like final speech of when he dismissed Parliament, that's just word for word accurate of him acting it out, and then they're getting dismissed. In the comments, at the top comment at the top is just like, because like, you don't know the history. King Charles I tries to dismiss Parliament. Parliament gets pissed off. They behead him. Oliver Cromwell's in for 10 years. King Charles II comes in. Yeah. And then King Charles II can't rule, so he's just like, fuck this. So they're just like, dissolves Parliament, right? And then the top comment is, it's up to our boy King Charles III to continue the tradition.
Come on, bring it home, boys. Come on. Yeah, and they fucking hate their politicians. There you go. Why not?
They hate their politicians. But again, I do think that the monarchy in their system is some sort of uniting force that kind of keeps Britain's belief in it going. Because, again, like you look at the opinion polls and it's just woeful. They despise everyone in Parliament, everyone. But over and over again, the royal family has this halo effect over the top of them. And you can see it in all the other European places as well, apart from Spain, because he got like done with some corruption scandal. And also he's got bad vibes because the royal family was linked to Franco too closely. No. That was the thing. Honestly, it seems like all throughout England, Europe, a big thing that ended up destroying a lot of the royal families was how cozy they got with fascist governments.
Yep.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Well, look, fascists in the the OG fascists, the originals, like they are by virtue authoritarian, and so they exist in a class system almost. They put themselves above as rulers of the people, and they set the cultural norms for that society. They explain who's going to be in the club and who's going to be out of the club. And that aligns perfectly with an aristocracy or a royal family. They serve that function usually in more traditional societies. They decide who's in the club, who's the real citizenry, who are the real people that deserve sovereignty. And fascists would have, I think, promised a lot to royal families that they will help bring people. Just give us some of your notoriety, give us some of your clout, and we can work. We can do deals, because fascists know how to do deals.
Well, isn't it weird that once that falls apart, the public turns?
Like royals, and this is a bourgeois phenomenon, but royals were on shaky ground anyway. The bourgeois system of bourgeois democracy, liberal society, was really undercutting and undermining the idea of royalty anyway. And so, to be honest, the English were very much an outlier in all of that. Napoleon...
I wonder why.
Napoleon did really well, I think, in continental Europe, fracturing the association between the people and their nobility. Because there was a strong relationship. It wasn't all like what fascists do or authoritarians do in this day and age, where it's just they just rule, on high, and their edict is all that goes. Nobility and the plebs had a kind of a give and take relationship. They both had roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
And Napoleon really was. It's funny because it's very ironic or contradictory, because he was an emperor, but he brought liberalism to continental Europe, and they believed in what he was doing. He was liberating them from their bondage, because the aristocracy had become corrupt and decrepit and had abandoned its responsibilities. And so he was able to sow the seeds of division in that system in continental Europe. And that was the contrast, because it was the English that were the last bastion, really, against Napoleon. It was the English Channel that really kept it apart, this idea of liberalism coming in and seeping in. And so keeping your royals for the English, that was culture defining for them. That was how they were going to differentiate themselves from evil Napoleon and the rise of evil Napoleon, who was this kind of liberal trailblazer, let's say. But like, again, ironically, he really wasn't, because he was an emperor and he set up his, his brother and like to be kings basically instead in parts of his empire. But like, he was ideologically a symbol of liberation.
Mm.
And that was the end to that type of relationship. There was really no going back after that. Like, I know they went back. Like, they went back to...
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it must have been like a very different relationship in places like Scandinavia, which they still keep them. And also, as you're saying before there, it honestly does feel like when you go to England, the lord of your county or whatever, he's kind of just the nice guy that lives on the castle in the hill, and like, if you're just like, me fence is broken, is it in it? And he's like, well, I'll go talk to council about it. Like he's that guy.
Yeah. There's like
he doesn't have this same. I don't know. Maybe in Europe it just got like, for whatever reason, it got like a real different feel to it. But you're right. Like nobility is sort of just. I would imagine still in the UK to this day, but I know definitely in the past they were just seen as your betters. They were. But they were decent people that kind of, helped the community
they still
out.
Had station. It was there's a really interesting like anecdote, I guess you would call it, from Engels, who writes a book called Socialism, Utopian and Scientific, and he speaks about the English bourgeoisie, and like he's speaking as a German who has actual business and enterprise in England, the industrial center of the world at that time. And he basically says the European bourgeoisie, they're cultured because like they are like merchants. And so like they're on the continent. So they got to speak like 3 languages just to trade. So they got to speak French and they got to speak German.
Yes.
They might have to speak English too in order just to make like the logistics go round in the economy. But like the English industrialists were like the epicenter of the world, and they were all like, most of them were either first generation or self-made capitalists themselves, and they were just like, right, like kind of thing. And so like they were as uncultured as the working class kind of thing. And so they didn't know 3 languages. They couldn't basically relate to continental Europe or the colonies that they were trading with. And so like the English really needed to keep their House of Lords around. They really needed to keep an aristocracy because they weren't cultured enough.
They were pigs.
They were pigs.
They were pigs, and they weren't of the right breed. They weren't the right. You know what's interesting? George Orwell was saying exactly the same thing in that book I was recommending you of Road to Wigan Pier. He was saying that I think his direct quote was, their only virtue is they know how to make money. And other than that, they are boorish, nasty, bilchy people that are like, they're just crap. They're horrible to speak to. This is what he was saying was like the self-made man in the 20th century. Now the self-made man, there's nothing higher than that. That's the absolute aspiration in everybody's mind. Yeah. In fact, people that do come, it's incredible how that's turned around, isn't it? Back in the day, you would do everything you could to display that you came from like a noble family. Now it's a mark of shame.
Yes.
It's because you didn't do it yourself.
Yes.
Isn't that incredible? What a huge cultural change that is.
And that's the difference between, I think, bourgeois society and the old class system. Because bourgeois society is, I think, embodied most prominently in the 21st century, if not the entirety of the 20th century, by the American dream. So, like, you can, on your own merits, if you work hard enough, you can make it in this system. Don't worry. Every day of the week, you will be okay as long as you work hard every day. Just get at it, and you will make your dreams come true. And that's the appeal. And that's like the bourgeois kind of promise of equality and fraternity and liberty. The pursuit of happiness really is about self-determination. Like many people think that the pursuit of happiness is about like being able to, I don't know, buy stuff that makes you happy or something like that. But it's about self-determination. It's about being able to be part of any system that you want, like politically, and make your own calls as an individual. And so like all of those liberal notions come together quite nicely in that idea of the pursuit of happiness, which is embodied in someone who comes from rags to riches. They make it. They've done the hard yards, and like they are what everyone aspires to be. If you're old money, that's fine. Like lucky you. But like you were just born into that. Did you really own it?
Yeah.
But that wasn't a thing before, like what you're saying. That was not a thing. If you were born into something before, you were
that was awesome.
Person. You were a better person.
Yeah.
And like people treated you like that. They expected, like you had higher station, and there were privileges that came with that, but there were probably responsibilities too. But like all the responsibilities are gone now in the bourgeois system, but it comes with all the perks.
It comes with all the perks, doesn't it? Yeah, you're so right. It's nothing but perks. No responsibility.
That's the unfortunate.
And in fact, actually, it is just comes from that of like self-made man, because it's just like, no, you earned this on yourself, on your own. Yeah. That's yours.
That's yours. You have it.
You have it.
Yeah. And don't you tax me. Like, stay away from me. Big government encroaching on my rights. Hey, taxes, theft.
It kind of even makes sense of the way that like the royal family now has bridged into the modern age, let's say. Because, man, I did go down that rabbit hole of like, because it's just this endless backwards obsession of mine. But what is the point of them ever since, let's say, post-Queen Victoria? They don't have any powers. They kind of just sit there. I suppose they're good for national corralling and all that kind of thing. You know what they really are now? It's actually quite a good institution in the sense that anything that the government doesn't, and this is probably why they're really liked now, because in this day and age, this is something else that I found that was like very interesting as well. Behind closed doors, the royal family obviously has to keep off this visage that they're impartial politically. They hated Margaret Thatcher, despised her. There is a famous leaked letter of like King Charles just being like, "I fear you are going to impoverish my domain."
Well.
And so they really hated Margaret Thatcher. They actually, this is really interesting, they prefer Labor governments. They prefer Labor governments. They like them. And I think that it basically boils down to exactly what we're talking about there, which is that the British nobility have the sentiment in their head of public service. Yeah. That you are you owe something to society. Yeah. That's very ingrained into the upper class of the Brits. And the Tories do not believe that. You know, like what's the most famous saying, right? Like there is no society. Like that is truly abhorrent to the royals. Yeah. That mentality is the exact opposite of how they see things. Yeah. And so the Labor Party obviously has some sort of social conscience, as does the royal family. So they actually have a lot in common. They have like a similar vision of what the world is. And they're kind of just saying that the more that government retreats away from helping the poor and kind of like lifting people out of poverty and civic service, this is where the royal family stepped in and has ever since that started going out the way since the 70s. This is why they spend a lot of time giving out medals of honor to, you know, ambulance people and firefighters and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. That's what they do with their time. And they also do a bunch of things like the royal foundations, where they sit there and like anyone that has like a good idea in, say, the social sciences or some research grant that they need that they couldn't get in the universities that's more out there and isn't necessarily linked to, you know, like in universities and stuff, it's like, well, where's the outcome to it? You need an outcome. But they're kind of just like, I've got a hunch and maybe it'll happen into something like that. They're the ones that fund these things that might end up happening and could turn into something, but otherwise might not. That is a very good institution to have.
Yeah.
That's a really useful institution. And also just the fact that they still have that aura around them. Dude, if you were like a firefighter or, I don't know, like a particularly good police officer or something like that, and the Queen gave you a little medal, like that would be a highlight of your life.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
That would be huge.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I've spoken to people that lived through like World War II and stuff like that, and the way that they speak about the royals, especially about the Queen, how like, you know, she basically rolled up her sleeves and she helped serve.
Help serve.
She helped serve. I remember this old lady telling me a story about how the Queen could take apart the engine of a truck, an army vehicle.
That's right.
And put it back together.
And put it back together, yeah.
They got down and dirty to serve the country, or at least show this is what a responsible participant in this society does.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, they're just a role model.
Yes.
They're a role model.
She was on the front lines actually servicing trucks. That's not the point.
No.
The point was, hello, everybody. We all need to come together as a nation. Like, we are all under threat here.
Yeah.
This is not ideological.
No.
This is literally, we are under assault.
Yeah.
And we might not make it through this one.
Yeah.
So, like, everybody, I'm doing it too. Get off your ass. And let's move here. And so, like, you know, all these kind of civic ceremonies that you're talking about that have important ceremonial function, really, that's pretty much it. Just to, like, give people something to look forward to in the sea of endless drudgery. That's a great service.
It's a great service. You know what else it is now that I'm thinking about it? It's a soul of a nation that is sort of embodied, that is severely lacking in the United States. They have fucking nothing of that.
Of that ilk.
Nothing.
No.
There's no dignity there.
No.
There's no even concept of service, really. Like, I can't even hear that phrase.
Not in this self-made American dream style ethos.
There's nothing. It's completely soulless. There's no spirit to it. And I suppose it's good that there is somebody that is upkeeping like the spirit of a nation. You know, that's really the forefront of it. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's still the head of the Anglican Church, you know? Like, there's something there that's like beyond the day-to-day mechanics of governing a country. That's a really interesting little addition that actually you're just talking about there. That's a really important little part that, you know, it's really a lot poorer if you get rid of it. It's to this day, like, you just see it in the wealth of Britain as opposed to the wealth of America. There's no... It's all take. Like, the wealth of America is all take, you know?
Well, that's the dog-eat-dog capitalistic style. And so this is the one element of a capitalistic society that is supposed to be self-serving, but is also incredibly, you know, cannibalistic, I guess you would say, or predatory at least, is unless there's a market for it, then they're not going to have that type of civic recognition. And like, if you've ever managed people, or if you've ever done like, you know, organizational psychology or anything like that, you know, if you have a large group of people, an organization that you need to operate and keep morale high enough for everybody to be working together and know their place and have their function in society, you have to acknowledge people's achievements every now and again to allow there to be room for it be like positive morale, as opposed to just everybody trying to climb the corporate ladder all the time and like step on each other on the way up. Like, you have to have some moments where you celebrate people's achievements.
Yeah.
Like, reward them.
It's not all just money.
It's not all just, the rat race kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, you made it, you bastard. I hope I make it kind of thing. And like, that is the difference, I guess, between, but like what you're describing though is not a development out of the system of, you know, bourgeois society or capitalism to help it sustain itself, that's a leftover from a bygone era.
What do you mean?
Discussing that this function of having royals that still do some type of civic service. No one has the royals anymore. Like, people don't have those people don't exist anymore, royal families. They're from a bygone era. They're from the before times.
They're from the before times, but that's what's so cool about keeping it going, because it kind of just like marries 1,000 years of wisdom. Like, it's like this is an institution that was there for 1,000 years, you know, and it was there at the peak of every great decision that was made. It was all in those chambers. Like, there is a lot that has gone into that, and to throw that away would really impoverish a nation massively. And it's like, you know what it actually really boils down to? It's another, I can't remember, I think it was Oscar Wilde. He said something along the lines of, America is a society that went from barbaric nation to empire and missed the civilization path.
Snap.
Don't you reckon?
Scathing as always.
And pithy.
Yeah, but like, you know, there's a lot to be said with that type of analysis, because they've still got that barbarian attitude. You can see that coming to the fore. Like, they're pretty fucking ruthless.
Aren't they? They are just a very violent nation, and it's like, they just are. There's something, you know, like in 1,000 years, things were learned, and that's all just kept in the institutional memory of that institution and keeping it going. Like, another really good example of it is in Queen Victoria's time, her husband, I can't remember his name, but he just had this like brain snap of an idea of, let's get together all the modern curios of the empire and put them together on display. And that's what happened. Like, they just got every modern invention across the empire, put it all on this like big thing that everybody went in and looked at. You know that they're saying that is like a big reason for why the modern age is the modern age, is because there was just that happening, and then every fucking intellect across the world just walked through and was just like, oh, that's what, and you can combine that with that, you know? It's things like that. And it was like, that was the motive behind it. Like, his motive was purely just, let's put everything that's benefiting humanity together that's at the forefront of it so we can push it further. It's just, those ideas don't exist anymore.
No, not in that shape, not in that fashion. Not in our market-driven society. Unless there's a market for that, you don't get that type of showcase. We have conventions.
But it's like shampoo conventions. Yeah. There's been a lot of advancements in shampoo silk technology.
But you can't see it unless you pay $120 for the ticket. Like, so like, oh, damn, I really wanted to know where the shampoo was going this year. I just got this dandruff. It just won't go away.
Yeah, and it would also just be like, the shampoo convention, sponsored by Palmolive. Yeah. And so the whole thing is just an ad for Palmolive.
Yeah. And that's a market society for you, baby. Yeah. And the institution is defined by its ability to turn over the economy. And so if it can add that type of economic value, then it can stay. But something as intangible as, like, you know, rewarding citizens for outstanding contributions to the civil service or something like that, or just to like your community, like, it doesn't even have to be official. Like, where's the market for that?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, it's noble, but like, how do you market that? How do you?
There's nothing. There's really nothing in it that's not. It's so immediate, isn't it? There's no. This is something that Christopher Lasch always talks about that has just been ringing in my head for a long time, which is his thought of, in this day and age, like in a very narcissistic society like we live in now, you have to just endlessly live in the present and just be leeching or lurching out for just immediate whims in front of you with no foresight into the future and a complete disrespect for the past.
Yeah.
You know, like, you just have to completely cut the past out. That doesn't exist. If it exists, it's something to be maligned and mocked and kind of trivialized. and the future and thinking long term into the future, as you were saying before, where's the market in it?
Yeah.
You know, it's all just about the immediacy of now. Like, that's a very bad society. It's exactly like, look, we're doing a big release. It's the same thing that you say over and over again about China, but like, Jesus Christ. Take away all the ideology, take away whatever you think about America and the United States. Think about a society that plans for the midterms and a society that plans mid-century, you know?
Yeah,
like, who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're getting over time. What's the time? Yeah. We'll stop now. Obviously, MysterE will be staying around for the up late.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, he'll be there. So make sure that you subscribe to that. And thank you always for your erudite, pithy observations, Oscar Wilde-esque.
Can I give one shout out or a shout out? A bunch of shout outs?
Yeah, go.
Big shout outs to my fellow revolutionaries, Avalava, 4IS, Voltateur, Lapt, Jeff, and many more. I'm sorry if I haven't listed you all here, but you know who you are. Vive la révolution. I'll see you in a stream very soon.